Alright, this is the companion hiking guide to my trip to La Gomera. I was there in the beginning of March, the first week, and spent about 6 days trekking there. Yeah, maybe you want to see the movie I made there first. You'll find that link below in the description, along with a bunch of other useful links. Yeah, after my previous hiking video, a lot of people asked me the same couple of questions, so I decided to make a sort of hiking guide and try to provide some answers. Okay, let's jump straight into a bit of travel information. La Gomera is one of the Canary Islands. It's pretty circular, it's about 22 kilometers across, and it's littered with these deep canyons, they called barrancos. In the middle of the island there is a large national park stretching out over the northern slopes, and it's called GR131. It's famous for having the largest remaining laurel rainforest. Well, actually, it's a cloud forest with the clouds coming in from the north and bumping into the mountains. The climate is subtropical, and I had like really nice temperatures all week around. I live in Belgium, so I flew from Brussels to Tenerife. I took the bus to Los Cristianos, where I got a gas canister, and I dropped a bag of clean clothes at a hotel and just took the 45-minute ferry to La Gomera and started walking. La Gomera is perfect for walking. It's littered with walking paths. They're all fairly well marked, and I'd say the trails are mostly easy to moderately difficult, but you'll be going up and down a lot, with a handful of steep stretches. There are two main trails on the island that both start in the main city, San Sebastian. There's a GR131, which goes across the island, and the GR132, which goes all the way around. My plan was to do the GR131 and continue on the southern part of the GR132 all the way back to San Sebastian, but there were a couple of challenges along the way which you'll hear about more in a minute. So I arrived late in the afternoon on Friday and started walking until it was getting too dark to continue. And the next day was a pretty big day, but coming down from the highest point of the island, which is just under 1500 meters, my right knee started acting up a bit, and it wasn't quite painful, but I knew that if I kept on going, it would become a problem. So on day 3, I took it a little bit slower and changed the plan. I had to improvise a bit and decided to hike the northern part of the GR132 for a couple of reasons. First, it is shorter, but also the south is a lot drier. It's more barren, covered with these volcanic basalt rocks. The sun was getting pretty hot, and the north provides more tree cover, more cloud cover. So that was going all well on day 4. I wild camped with my tent every night, which is technically illegal, but I think it's fine as long as you stick to a couple of rules. First, you only pitch your tent at dusk when it's getting dark. You take it down shortly after sunrise. You leave nothing but footprints. And third or fourth, don't pitch your tent in a national park, not in protected areas. And as long as you stick to those rules, I think you're mostly fine. You know, La Gomera is a pretty, well, I wouldn't say densely populated, it's pretty sparsely populated, but you're never far from civilization or roads. But I'd never really encountered hikers like after 4 in the afternoon. So it's pretty easy to find a good, quiet, flat spot. And yeah, just stick to those rules and everything will be fine. I don't think I was ever spotted. So that said, on day 5, I started hiking a very remote part of the island. On a stretch of 22 kilometers, I only encountered one other person. I found a couple of houses, but they were all empty, all abandoned. And I was running really low on batteries and water. So I decided to walk all the way back to the main city and checked into a hotel to recharge my batteries, stock up on water. And yeah, it was nice to be able to take a shower after a couple of days in the dry heat. On day 6, I started walking the southern part of the GR132, but I really took my time. I went swimming, so really took it easy. And finally, day 7 was a half day, just returning to the main city, San Sebastian, where I took the ferry to Tenerife. I spent the night there and flew back home the next day. So all in all, it was 132 kilometers spread across 6 days. And yes, that includes going back for the camera each time. People always get so worked up about it, but it's really part of the fun for me. Even if you spend like 30 minutes a day for filming, there's still 7, 8, 9 hours of regular interrupted walking. So yeah, fine for me. I didn't bring a paper map on this hike with me. I had everything. I had GPX files on the AllTrails app on my phone. So the way this works is you download the maps when you're at home, and then you can just put your phone in airplane mode and your GPS still works. So even in the middle of nowhere, you can still see exactly where you are. You can see the elevation, you can record your itinerary, and the app immediately notifies you if you're straying from the path. You get a little notification, which is super useful. And well, to use the AllTrails app in offline mode, you need a subscription though, but I think it's worth it. Worked really well for me, so I have no regrets there. Like I said, water is a really big issue on La Gomera. Apparently there is rain on the island. I saw some riverbeds and I even saw like waterfalls marked on the map, but when I was there, the island was bone dry. I didn't see a single running river or stream on the entire trip. I knew this going in. I had done my research, but still I found myself running out of water a couple of times and really have to ration my supply. So really watch out for that. I bought my Sawyer micro squeeze filter, really useful thing, but I only used it twice for water from public restrooms. So yeah, there's really limited sources of water on the island. So I was carrying up to 4 liters of water in my backpack, but you can easily get through that in the scorching sun. I never bought so many plastic bottles as in that week. You can of course ask the locals for water, which I did a couple of times, but yeah, funny story there. First time I went asking for water in my broken Spanish, the guy just pointed at a restaurant that was closed, so no use there, and his pretty aggressive dog came chasing after me. Fortunately, the dog was on a leash, so I just took off without any water. So let's talk about gear. First up, this video, including the Q&A here, was filmed on an iPhone 11 Pro, which I mounted on this little Gorilla Pod. Really useful, lightweight thing. Yeah, I like this. I used the Filmic Pro app, shot everything in 4K 25 frames per second. Overall, I'd say the phone is a beast. The battery is impressive. I used it all day for navigation, taking pictures, filming, listening to hours and hours of podcasts. So pretty impressive. I also brought this big power bank, but it won't last a week, of course. So for this trip, I got this little sonar panel. It has this very simple USB port and you strap it to the top of your pack. You've probably seen it in the video. And I don't know, it was extremely slow to charge this power bank. Granted, it's a pretty big one, but still. Now, you're not supposed to connect the solar panel directly to your devices because, yeah, those smartphones and stuff, they don't like it if they don't get a continuous voltage, which the sun can't provide. So, but I did try just to test for a couple of minutes, and I saw that it did charge my phone and my watch very, very easily. So it does work, but for the power bank, I don't know. So I'm not sure yet whether I'm going to keep it. We'll see. Then on to hiking gear. I'm not going to go into detail for everything, but the vast majority of my gear comes from a store called Decathlon. If you're not familiar with them, it's this big chain of sports equipment, sportswear stores. Their stuff is really good. They mostly sell their own brands, and for trekking, those brands are Quechua and Forclaz. As long as you don't go for their cheapest options, their stuff is, I think, pretty much like 80% as good as the big name brands, but at a fraction of the price. So that's really, really nice. Yeah, maybe it sounds like I'm being sponsored by Decathlon, but that's not the case, unfortunately. Yeah, maybe if they want to sponsor, definitely get in touch. So sleeping bag, tent, mattress, liner, pillow, headlamp, pretty much all of my clothes, it's all Quechua and Forclaz. A couple of these items are older, but I think if you get the new ones, they're probably just as good. These all go into a 40-liter backpack, which is not a lot, but that keeps me from bringing too much gear, and I like to keep it as compact as possible. Now, I still brought too much on this trip, like I brought a pair of trousers, never used it. I brought a wind jacket, never used it. A thermal undershirt, never used it. So yeah, still way too much stuff. And I think I wore my sweater for a total of like 4 hours on the entire trip. For shoes, I brought my Merrell hiking shoes. They're really good. Really don't need big hiking boots for a trip like this. Really keep it lightweight and simple. Worked fine for me. For a stove, I have a Jetboil, which is not the lightest or the most compact, but I really like it. It's pretty convenient and it works really well. So yeah, happy with the Jetboil. And I put all my stuff in a couple of dry bags from Osprey. In total, the weight of my gear was usually somewhere between 9 and 13 kilos, depending on how much food and water I was carrying. And I'd love to get into the ultralight backpacking gear, but for now that's way too expensive for me. Talking about money, let's get a quick look at the budget. So I paid about 200 euros for the flights, boats and buses. The ferry is pretty expensive, that was just under 80 euro. And then I had 2 hotel rooms, that was 126. And for food, I spent about 100 euros. I didn't track everything, but it's about that. So in total, that's about 500 euros for 7-8 days of travel, which is pretty nice, I think. There are usually enough stores to get food and get your supplies. But since I'm a vegetarian and I'd like to eat vegan as much as I can, I brought pretty much all my food except I got some apples, some bread, and a lot of water in the stores, but you can get by only getting food for about 2 days. So I brought oatmeal, cereal bars, instant noodles, and those freeze-dried trekking meals for dinner. So to wrap up, it was a pretty amazing trip. It was a bit challenging, but that's part of the fun. I had to improvise a bit with the knee, with the sun, with the lack of water, with batteries. I think you can do the whole trip without camping, just going to hotels, because the island is, well, you can pretty much do the same trip as I did, minus a couple of detours here and there. If you have any more questions or you went there yourself, just let me know in the comments. I'll try to read and answer as much as I can. And yeah, I really enjoyed these trips, making these videos. So subscribe if you want to stay in the loop, and if you enjoy it, like the video, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!